Greetings and welcome to video 2 on circles and area. And this time in video 2 we're going to be talking about finding the circumference of a circle. And you were asked to take notes on circumference from the key idea at the top of page 319. And remember, circumference for a circle is the distance around the circle. That means it's the same as perimeter, the distance around some shape that's not a circle. So perimeter, circumference, that's the same darn thing, the distance around. So let's talk about some of those notes you needed to take. Well, the distance around the circle obviously is called the circumference. Circumference can be put into a ratio where we compare the circumference of a circle to its diameter. And when we do that, we find that it's the same for every single circle out there, no matter what. If you take the circumference of that circle and you put it over the diameter of that circle, that ratio is the same for every circle. And it can be represented by this symbol. You've seen it before. This symbol right here. It's called pi. That's right. And the value of pi is approximated as 3.14. Now, some of you know that you might know more digits. It is an irrational number that never repeats and never terminates. I don't know that many. All I know is 3.141592654. And one interesting thing is it only happens once every 100 years. But last year we experienced that many digits of pi, because on March 14th in 2015 at 9:26 in the morning and 9:26 at night, so 2 times in one day, but it only happens once every 100 years. All right, so you have your other approximation, which is 22 divided by 8. 22 divided by 8 will give you 3.14, but then it gives you some other digits that aren't quite exact, but the first 3 are the same. So that's why we approximate with 3.14. And this 22 over 7 is very useful when we have numbers that are compatible with 7 and we're finding our information. So here we have a circle, and then of course the circumference, that's the distance around. And 2 of the very important things about the circle that we need to know is the diameter and the radius. Diameter meaning it's a line that goes from one side to the other, passing through the center, and the radius being the distance from the center to the edge of the circle. And so pi, again, is the circumference divided by the diameter. It's that ratio of circumference to diameter. Now, you already know what diameter is, but what is circumference? Well, circumference happens to be pi times the diameter. That is correct. So we take pi times the diameter to find the circumference, okay? Or, as you know, it takes 2 radius to make a diameter, so I could also use 2 pi r. Notice 2 2r will give me diameter. So let's just do this a couple times and we'll be done. This is going to be very quicker. So we're going to find the circumference of some circles. In the first one, you see a circle and it shows us the diameter. The reason I know it's a diameter is because the line goes all the way across the circle, passing through the center. So I could use the formula, circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. Now all I have to do is plug and chug. Well, we're going to approximate pi using 3.14. Please do not use the pi button. You will get a different answer that doesn't always jive with what we're going to be doing. So we always want to use the approximation unless told otherwise. So 3.14 times the diameter of 17. And when you multiply those numbers together, you get 53.38. And that would be meters. Again, we need to put units on our number answers so that they give us some meaning and they're not just numbers floating around. Our next example of finding the circumference is a circle, which gives us, that's right, it gives us the radius, because it's a distance going from the center to the edge. And we know that the formula for that is 2 times pi times the radius. And so a lot of people call it 2 pi r. And there we go. So we just plug and chug. 2 times 3.14, and the radius being 3. And when you multiply those numbers together, you get 18.84 feet using your calculator. Not very difficult. Just knowing the formula to find the circumference, the distance around, and then plugging and chugging. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, one thing that's kind of different in this lesson that we're going to talk about is actually finding the perimeter of a semicircle. A semicircle being half of a circle. So what we have to do is we do have to find the circumference first of what would be the entire circle. And then what are we going to do with that? That's right, we're going to cut it in half. But then if we want to find the distance, the total distance around this figure, not only do we have to take half the circumference, but we have to add to it the diameter. So it looks something like this. We're going to find the circumference. They gave us the diameter. So we're going to use pi times the diameter. Again, we're going to plug and chug. We're going to go 3.14, and the diameter is 22 millimeters. So when we multiply those numbers together, we would get 69.08. Now that's for an entire circle. We don't want the whole circle, so we're going to divide that number by 2. And when we divide it by 2, we get 34.54. Okay? Well, we're not done yet. That distance, 34.54, is this green distance right here. That's just the circular part of the semicircle. We need to add the diameter. We need to add this diameter. So we're going to add to that the 22 millimeter diameter, and we're going to end up with a final answer of 56.54 millimeters. Let's do that one more time, except this time, once again, we're going to be given the radius. Notice they show this measurement from here to here. That would be the radius because it's only going from the center to the edge. Well, we want to find the circumference of the entire thing. And since they gave us the radius, we're going to go 2 pi r. And so that's 2 times 3.14, and the radius being 4. And when I use my calculator and plug all that in, I get 25.12. Well, that's the distance of what would be an entire circle. We don't want that. We only want half. So we're going to actually divide that by 2, and we get 12.56. It's still not the answer, the complete answer we're looking for. That only gives us this purple circular part, and we need to find the straight distance, the diameter distance. Most people, this is where we make a mistake because we only add the 4. Well, that only gives us half of that distance. We need to add 8. 8 is the diameter. All right? So 8 is the diameter, and when you add that, you get 20.56. And of course, the units are inches. So, using the circumference formula, we used it 4 times. We did it twice using the diameter with circumference equals pi times the diameter. We did it twice with the radius with circumference equals 2 pi times the radius. And then we also used it to find the semicircular perimeter. So, ladies and gentlemen, that kind of ends it. Here goes quick right number 2. I want you to write, what is the circumference of a circle with a radius of 4 feet? So you don't have a picture, but they're telling you, hey, I've got this circle, and its radius is 4 feet. What is the circumference? And then I want you to find the perimeter of a semicircle with a diameter of 16. If it helps you, draw pictures, all right? When you're done, please, questions regarding circles and circumference. Whatever it takes to ask me some questions, and then, of course, begin working on your assignment. The expectation, 45 quality minutes using aggressiveness and urgency because your time is used effectively. We talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. It's time to start putting that to practice. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it is a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to talking to you about circles and circumference tomorrow in class.